Mm, should be live. Hello, everybody. Give me just a quick second to get situated. Da-da-da-da. What is it waiting on? Why is it waiting? We're live. Why isn't it showing up? I am sick and tired of having technical difficulties. Oh, there we are. Okay, so give me 1 second. Let me share the link. And we'll get started with this episode of the Stephanie Bri Show. Your live pop culture, news, rumors, topics, discussion, anything goes newscast here on the YouTubes. Got some really cool stuff today. I'm excited for this episode. I just gotta share the link to a couple of different places real quick. All right, should be live. So let's go ahead and get the chat brought up in case people are watching. Hello, people. All right. So, All right. I still haven't figured out what I'm gonna put at the top of the show. So I'm still working on that. So I guess the easiest thing to do is just sort of chit chat, give some updates on the channel and some behind the scenes stuff. Channel updates, nothing new. Videos are coming out pretty much on Tuesday or Wednesday these days because that's when I have the most time. I did a live stream on Horror Trans this morning. It was a bitch and a half to get it to work, but I was able to do it. So I did Scream. I rewatched Scream from 1996. Not to be confused with Scream from 2022. I know the naming conventions of these horror movies is bonkers, but whatever. And ultimately, I had a lot of fun revisiting a pretty good slasher horror movie. I don't have a whole lot else going on in my world to report. Nothing in the channel or anything. So let's go ahead and jump into news and rumors because I got quite a bit. Just for those who are joining me, this is going to be between 2 to 3 hour long show. That's how I have scheduled it. So I have plenty of topics. I have a movie topic, a comic book discussion, retail topic, video game, food, music, and then we'll end with random thoughts. But we start off with news. And our top story is more under the new rumors than news, but this is news and rumors. But it's Chris Pratt believes there could be a, quote, Nintendo cinematic universe. The movie was a major hit, and Chris Pratt believes that Nintendo has more characters. This is coming from GameSpot.com. He says, okay, man, there's so much to explore. There are decades worth of games to explore, not only with Mario and Peach and Donkey Kong and Luigi and Bowser and Yoshi. That was teased at the end, but it just gets me so excited. He says, I was such a Nintendo head growing up, so just thinking about how everything from Legend of Zelda to the entire Nintendo cinematic universe could be created and what that could look like for all those characters that I love. I mean, there's really no limit. Blah, blah, blah. So Chris Pratt knows a thing or two. Yeah, give me 1 second. Chris Pratt definitely knows a thing or two about cinematic universes, considering he is a big part of the MCU. Did you like the new Screams? I did my ranking of the Screams on Horror Trans under franchise rankings, and I reviewed them as I watched them. Off the top of my head, yes and no. I liked either 4 or 5, and I didn't like 6. Now, I say either 4 or 5 because I get them mixed up in my head. I can't remember which is which because every time I remember what I liked about one, I realize it was in the other. So I'll have to go back and rewatch 4 and 5 again to sort out in my head which is which. Because every time I think that the thing I didn't like was in 4, it was actually in 5, and it's confusing. But anyways, yeah, Chris Pratt, he wants there to be an NCU. So why not? On that same note, GameSpot is also putting this under rumor. Danny DeVito would like to play Wario in the next Mario movie. Of course, he says that DeVito jokes that he would demand a lot of money to play Wario. The movie Dweeb quoted DeVito as saying he would ask for a lot of money if the opportunity ever came to play Wario. And DeVito said, I'm going to take them to the cleaners, but tell them that I should be in the movie. Blah, blah, blah. He says, I'm ready to do a lot of things. He said the future is uncertain and anything could happen down the road. So I guess if DeVito wants to be if he wants to be Wario, I could see it. You know, I guess I could see Danny DeVito being Wario. Although, if I'm playing casting director for the movie, I don't know who would I pick to voice Wario. Oh God, Jack Black is already doing Bowser, so I have to cross him off the list. John Goodman. If Danny DeVito can't do it, get John Goodman to do it. That's who I would pick. That's who I would get. All right, this one comes also from GameSpot. It says Natasha Lyonne, or Leone, I don't know how you say it, joins Marvel's Fantastic Four in mystery role. The movie is set to release in July 2025. I hope they've released more information on it by this point. Okay. The article says Natasha Lyonne, known for her roles on Russian Doll and Orange is the New Black, is joining the cast of Marvel's upcoming The Fantastic Four movie, according to Deadline. No word yet on who this person will play in the film. We already have Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, Eben Moss Backrack as Ben Grimm, Julia Garner as Silver Surfer, Ralph Ineson as Galactus, Jesus Christ, John Malkovich as I'm out. I ain't watching it. I'm done. I'm already over it. Fucking not because of the cast. I have no issues with anybody in the cast. But why are they bringing in Silver Surfer and Galactus and fucking John Malkovich? Oh my God, that's too much for the first movie. They're jumping. They're doing the DC thing where they're throwing too much in the first movie. I know it's not even close to the first movie in the MCU, but it is whatever. I'm just no. I'm already out. I'm not interested anymore. That's too much. Keep it simple, goddammit. All right. This is coming from GameSpot. Lord of the Rings Golem movie will explore parts of his story the original trilogy didn't cover. Warner Brothers is making new Lord of the Rings live action movies, and the film studio is bringing back Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Philippa Boyens to make them. The first of these projects is a film about Gollum in development under the working title The Hunt for Gollum, with Andy Serkis directing. Jackson recently spoke to Deadline about why he wanted to bring... Okay. He says he's always been fascinated by Gollum/Smeagol because of what the character represents. Gollum reflects the worst of human nature, whilst his Smeagol side is arguably quite sympathetic, Jackson's words. I think he connects with readers and film audiences alike, but there's a little bit of both of them in all of us. That's a bit of a stretch, dude. I don't know. this could possibly be the movie that gets me to give a shit about Lord of the Rings again. I still haven't watched the goddamn Hobbit movies, and oh my god. It takes 3 weeks to watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I don't have the spoons to sit through the Hobbit fucking trilogy when it should have been, I don't know, the first 10 minutes of the Lord of the Rings in the first place. I don't know, whatever. I don't know. All right, coming from GameSpot as well, the Xbox May update features mouse and keyboard support for 26 cloud gaming titles. Let's see if there's a list. There is a list. ARK Survival Evolved, Atomic Heart, City Skylines Mayor's Edition, City Skylines Remastered, Deep Rock Galactic, Doom 64, oh dear, Fortnite, browser only, Gears Tactics, Grounded, Halo Infinite, High on Life, House Flipper, Ink Culinati Game Preview, Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord, Norco, Pentiment, Quake, Quake 2, Sea of Thieves, Slime Rancher 2, Sniper Elite 5, State of Decay 2, Terraria The Sims 4, Valheim Game Preview, and Zombie Army 4 Dead War. Of course, you do have to have a Microsoft account, but obviously. All right. I've got 2 more from GameSpot before we move on. This one I saw on other sites, but I pulled it up on GameSpot first because they were the first result in the Google results. So this says Terminator anime coming to Netflix this fall. The 8-episode series will be part of the Terminator universe, but center around new characters. That has me intrigued and nervous at the same time. The show will be called Terminator Zero, created and executive produced by Mattson Tomlin from The Batman and The Batman 2, don't know what those are, and executive produced by Skydance Animation by Production IG Studios. 8-episode series will feature new characters, but the threat remains the same, the rise of the machines. The show goes back and forth between 2022, when an all-out war raged for decades between the remaining human survivors and the machines that began in 1997. It was initially announced back in 2021. Will premiere globally on August 29 this year, exclusively on Netflix. All right, so if you're interested in that, I'm not, but there it is. And the last article I have from GameSpot, which I also saw on other sites, of course, future Netflix price increases might have the NFL to partially blame. And it says the 2 Christmas Day NFL games are airing on Netflix this year, and this is a 3-year deal, blah, blah, blah. There are no live annual events, sports or otherwise, that compare with audiences NFL football attracts. We're so excited, blah, blah, blah. That's PR bullshit. Yeah, NFL's fucking popular. We know this. So because they have to shell out buco bucks to get the NFL, you're going to have to pay extra for Netflix going forward. Yay! Especially if you don't give a shit about the NFL. All right. Kotaku has an article that says N64 recompiler tool porting Zelda, Majora's Mask, and other N64 classics to PC just got much easier. Ocarina of Time's offbeat cousin is available to play right now on PC at 120 frames per second thanks to the tool. Let's see what this says. According to Kotaku, a new fan-developed tool will soon let users easily port nearly any N64 video game to PC, helping preserve the console's library, blah, blah, blah. Get a taste of this, the recently released port of Majora's Mask. While N64 emulation has been around for a long time, yes, it's never been perfect. That is also true. And then it says, in a perfect world, players wouldn't have to emulate N64 games. These classic games would be available to play natively, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but Nintendo doesn't put their games on PC. N64 Recompiled is a new tool developed by retro game modder WiseGuy that essentially takes the original code found in an N64 game and translates it into a modern format and programming language that your PC can understand. It only takes a few seconds and creates a program that doesn't contain any original assets from the game. So in theory, according to them, players will be able to share these pre-made recompiled ports freely without angering Nintendo lawyers. Fat chance of that happening. However, to actually play any of these ports created using this tool, you'll still need to provide your own ROMs. Yeah, obviously. All right. Yeah. Don't do it. You'll get sued. That's a PSA. Thank you very much. Nintendo will sue your ass if you just name your YouTube channel anything remotely resembling their trademarks. Nintendo Life has a very harrowing report. And I brought this up because this is indicative of where the games industry is with its anti-consumer bullshit. The headline reads, chilled adventure game, quote, over Morrow, deletes your save data every 30 days on purpose. Okay. The game launches on May 17th. That's in 2 days. We'll see you exploring a mysterious island and trying to crack the puzzles hidden within. As you go about your adventure, you will collect ruins, blah, blah, blah. It's an interesting mechanic, blah, blah, blah. This is noteworthy with sprites and environments. It looks like an origami. Okay, yeah, that's nice. When your ruins have been exhausted, resting will replenish them, but also progress the day count and narrative. After 30 in-game days, your save is deleted. However, in Overmorrow, things are rarely as they seem on the surface, and that is just one more step to discovering the game's many mysteries. Yeah, even if I had a Switch, I am not going to buy a video game that will delete my game saves. Fuck you. Nintendo Life also has a story. This one is I will say, somewhat disheartening, but also it was to be expected. The Switch Joy-Con drift class action lawsuit has been dismissed after 5 years. Yeah, Nintendo was not going to be paying people for fucking whatever the Joy-Con drift is. I don't know what it is, but because I got rid of my Switch before this controversy. But anyways, all right. Throughout the lifespan of the Nintendo Switch, there has been all sorts of controversy surrounding the Joy-Con controller drift. It looks like 5 years of efforts to sue Nintendo over the drift have now come to an end, as highlighted by GameFile reporter Steven Totilo. The cases Diaz versus Nintendo and Cabad Hall versus Nintendo have both been called for dismissal. There's a third case which lasted for 4 years, was also thrown out. No other details have been shared. All right, so another, quote, win for Nintendo and a loss for everybody else. They made a faulty product and they got away with it. Yeah, Nintendo does. If there had been class action lawsuits regarding the Nintendo NES blinking light conundrum bullshit back in 1985, Nintendo wouldn't be in business today. Because they've always made shitty hardware that people give them a pass for because Mario's cool. Yeah, I love Nintendo games, but their hardware leaves a lot to be desired. I'm just saying. I have no problem with their games. I have 10,001 problems with their hardware. Except the GameCube. I love the GameCube. All right. This one is coming from Comic Book Resources, CBR.com. Basically, it is Millie Alcock's Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow movie, sets release date. All right. It will be coming to theaters. It is the second alleged movie in the DCU. But because, of course, they're rebooting the DCU again, I can't be bothered. But anyways, the movie will come to theaters June 26, 2026. The character may appear in the Superman movie or another DCU project. That's just speculation at this point. I don't know I think whatever's going on with DCU is way, way more complicated than anything Marvel is doing. And Marvel is so complicated, it's like solving the puzzle box in Hellraiser. You get the prize, and the prize is, congratulations, you're going to hell for eternity to be tortured. Oops. Comicbook.com says X-Men star Famke Janssen, I don't know how you say that, is talking about a possible return as Jean Grey. And there's nothing there. Looks like my ad blocker may have killed their article, so fuck you. All right. Well, that's disappointing. Shouldn't have intrusive ads on your website. I will not be reading other stories from comicbook.com as a result of that. So I will not be using them as a source. Thank you very much. This one comes from Bleeding Cool. BleedingCool.com. It says Storm joins Marvel's Avengers from August, ? Will she lead them? As of August this year, Storm will be a new member of the Avengers, courtesy of Marvel Comics. Jed McKay and Valerio Sheedy? Yeah, I saw something about this on, I think, Twitter yesterday. I'm pretty sure Gail Simone tweeted it. I should rephrase that. The legendary Gail Simone tweeted it. Something about Storm being an Avenger. All right. Yesterday, fans learned an X-Man would be joining the ranks of Marvel's premier superhero team. Bullshit. This summer, and today, calling bullshit on the premier team. It's the X-Men, not the Avengers. The goddess herself, Storm, is Earth's mightiest mutant. I'm not gonna disagree with that. I love Storm. She will join the cast of Jed McKay's current run starting in August's Avengers number 17. It will also mark the debut of new series artist Valerio Sheedy, fresh off his bold work on Gods. The acclaimed artist, known for his breathtaking, action and dynamic character work, takes the helm just in time for this exciting new era. I don't know what's going on with Marvel and the X-Men. I canceled my subscription in 2020 because I lost my job because of the pandemic, etc. But I will be renewing my subscription starting with the first issue Gail Simone is writing. So that's absolutely going to happen. All right. This is also a Marvel story from Bleeding Cool News. I'll just read the headline. We don't need to get into the nitty-gritty. Marvel announces a new Dazzler X-Men solo series from the ashes. It'll come out in October. And a tease for Avengers number 17. Marvel unveils a new Dazzler solo series and teases Storm joining Avengers. Yeah. All right. They've not done as much with Dazzler as I would have liked, especially in the movies. I don't even know if she's in the movies. I don't remember. Those X-Men movies are kind of a blur. I love them, but you got to watch them 12 times before you can pick apart what's happening. They're like a bad Michael Bay Transformer movie. It's just a blur of CGI for 2.5 hours. Gunn's Supergirl may appear in other stuff. Is the Peacemakers introducing? I don't know. I don't know what any of those words mean. I apologize. Okay. Full disclosure. As a comic book reader, set aside the X-Men. That's my number one. Everything else I read is either Archie comics, indie comics, or DC comics. I haven't been interested in whatever the fuck Marvel is doing comic book wise since I threw my issue of Spider-Man, whatever it was, in the trash following the Clone Saga when he put a fucking paper bag over his head. I just wrote Marvel off as I don't give a fuck anymore at that moment, and they've never won me back other than the X-Men. So I'm interested in this Dazzler thing. I don't really know what's going on with the DC movies or animated films or TV shows. There's so much fucking comic book movie content out there. I can't keep up with it all. I liked what they were doing with the DCEU you know, the Suicide Squad, Batman v Superman, you know, those movies. I liked what they were doing. I don't like that they just stopped cold turkey and soft rebooted in the middle of the whatever they were doing, and then hard rebooted it, but then soft rebooted back to it. I don't know what they're doing. I can't make heads or tails of it. I love the first Suicide Squad. Love it. Absolutely love it. Haven't seen the second one yet because I'm torn on, am I going to like, I don't know, because I know it was supposedly rectifying the so-called wrongs of the first film, allegedly. And I'm nervous to go into it because my fear is, correct me if I'm wrong, channel or somebody else, my fear is they made it more like the MCU because that was probably what they thought they were supposed to do, meaning too much comedy, which, you know, a little bit of comedy is fine. You know, Batman Forever is a great Batman film. But Batman and Robin is a prime example of too much comedy in a superhero film. This one is coming from an unlikely source. Excuse me. This is from CNN, and it says Nicolas Cage to portray a live-action version of Spider-Man in a new series titled Noir. This I'm actually possibly interested in. Even though I don't like Nicolas Cage, or Spider-Man for that matter. Nicolas Cage is taking on a decidedly darker version of Spider-Man in a new series. It is called Noir, adaptation of the Spider-Man Noir comic books from Marvel, Prime Video, and MGM Plus announced on, oh God. It's going to be on, well, Prime, yeah, that's accessible, but if you have to purchase MGM Plus on top of it, oh dear God. Okay, according to the announcement, it is set in 1930s New York and follows a down-on-his-luck private investigator who is forced to grapple with his past life as the city's one and only superhero. Noir will be Cage's first series regular role on TV. Okay. I'm not seeing any information on if this will be, if it will require an MGM Plus subscription or not. Nicolas Cage, I'm not gonna go down that path. I don't like him. I don't like him. I don't hate him. You know, I hate Adam Sandler. Fucking hate him. If I ran into him in public, I would get arrested for punching him in the face. Nicolas Cage, he's just meh. He doesn't register in my brain. I see him and I'm like, all right, he's a cardboard cutout pretending to be human. Even in Kick-Ass, which I loved, the best scene in that movie is when he died, when his character was burned alive. I was like, yes, fuck yeah. That got me pumped. I have not seen anything else in his entire filmography I give a shit about. At all, period. Nothing else I give a shit about. I'm not a fan of Nicolas Cage. All right. Apple, this is also from CNN. This one's more of a tech news. Apple unveils new iPad Pro with, quote, outrageously powerful AI-powered chip. This has me a bit weary. All right. Tim Cook said, this is the biggest day for iPads since its introduction. At the heart of the new iPad Pro is Apple's new custom M4 processor, which delivers 4 times the performance of its blah, blah, blah. In a, quote, outrageously powerful chip for AI. I don't know. That terrifies me. The last thing I liked Bruce Willis in was The Fifth Element. And before that, it was Hudson Hawk. There's 4 Bruce Willis movies I like. The original, Die Hard, Hudson Hawk, Death Becomes Her, The Fifth Element. That's it. Nothing else. He hasn't been in anything else that I enjoyed. And yeah, I'm more of a sci-fi and horror fan, so he doesn't usually pop up in the movies that interest me. But I also believe he's retired because he's like sick or something, has dementia or something like that. So that's a little discouraging, I guess. All right, this one comes from abcnews.go.com. This one's just sort of a feature article. It says, first warm-blooded dinosaurs roamed Earth 180 million years ago, according to a study. Scientists once thought of dinosaurs as sluggish, cold-blooded creatures. Then research suggested that some could control their body temperature, but when and how that shift came about remained a mystery. Now, a new study estimates that the first warm-blooded dinosaurs may have roamed the Earth around 180 million years ago, about halfway through the creature's time on the planet. Warm-blooded creatures, including birds, who are allegedly descended from dinosaurs, keep their body temperature constant whether the world around them runs cold or hot. Cold-blooded animals, including reptiles like snakes and lizards, depend on outside sources to control their temperature, basking in the sun to warm up. Blah, blah, blah. This is a neat article. Go read it if you want. I'm just gonna skim it. I thought that was pretty fun. This one, not a fun article, but I have to read it anyways because I am a trans woman. This is coming from NPR.org, National Public Radio. I'm just going to read the headline and then I'm going to bitch for like 5 minutes. Target scales back on its LGBTQ plus merchandise ahead of Pride Month 2024. Yeah, so here's the thing. Target's Pride collection has always been regarded as that what we refer to in the community as rainbow capitalism. And most queer people are pretty anti-capitalism in the first place. And we're definitely anti-capitalists using us as a marketing tool to sell merchandise to us. So I wasn't going to buy any of their shit in their Pride collection anyways. So I know it's probably because of hate speech and backlash and other bullshit, it looks like. But again, it's like, yeah, we didn't ask for it. We don't want it. So yeah, it can be seen as a temperature for where this country is going in regards to LGBTQIA rights and representation and whatnot. But at the same time, we don't need Target selling us rainbow flag coffee mugs. If I'm going to buy a rainbow flag coffee mug, I'm going to buy it from Etsy from a lesbian couple who made it by hand. I'm just using that as an example. All right, this one's a little bit more fun, but also kind of who gives a shit, but just for the fuck of it. BBCnews.com has an article. Who won the Kendrick Lamar versus Drake beef? And the truth is, the record companies won. Everybody else lost. That's the truth. But I haven't even read the article. Blah, blah, blah. They've got stats, stacking them up against each other. I grew up in the West Coast. I grew up like digesting West Coast G-Funk. I'm pro Kendrick Lamar by default. The only thing I know about Drake, I just learned he was a rapper 2 days ago or last week when I found out about the beef. The only thing I knew about him before that was he was one of the cast of Degrassi, The Next Generation. And I'm not saying that as a meme. I actually watched Degrassi, The Next Generation. I remember him from that. So, whatever. It is what it is. I don't give a shit. This one is going to piss people off. It pisses me off. Magician, this is coming from Us Magazine. Magician David Copperfield has been accused of sexual misconduct by 16 women. I'm not going to take sides, but I am going to say, believe the women, or at least listen to them and hear what they have to say. But also, innocent until proven guilty. So let's, see where this goes. But also, it's, let's not jump to cancel the dude, but let's at least listen to the women. Let's hear what they have to say. So that's all I have to say about that. And this is the last newsy article I have. This comes from people.com. This is a feature story under their nostalgia banner. So you can go check it out. Read it if you want. It's at people.com. And it says, Drew Barrymore remembers E.T. as her first, quote, imaginary friend, 40 years after iconic film. So this is a fun little feature story. I thought that was neat. She says, I remember E.T. like it was yesterday. Funny enough, Barrymore, who was just 7 at the time. She is now 49, so she's not that old. She says, I think E.T. was definitely sort of my first imaginary friend that I also knew wasn't real. I fully understood, but I think we need to project a matter of belief system in things. Whether it's imaginary or very real and tangible, it's part of a survival mechanism, as well as just an absolute pleasure to identify things that make us feel good, that we feel we like believe in us, like we believe in them. I can relate to that because when I was a kid, my best friend was my Optimus Prime action figure. I took him to school with me, played with him at recess. Because the other kids weren't going to have anything to do with that weirdo playing with a Transformers doll in the corner. All right. So that's all I have for news and rumors. Oh, I love dog food. I love the dog pound. All right, let's get into our topics. So our first segment is our movie segment. And the topic for discussion is, I want to say indie studio, but they're quickly becoming a Hollywood behemoth, A24. So the reason why I want to talk about A24 is twofold. One, they sort of came out of nowhere. Like, I only heard about them like a year or two ago. And now it's like every other movie I'm interested in has their name on it, which is weird. And I don't just mean horror movies. Like, just last night, I sat through the 3-hour American Honey produced by A24, or released, or distributed by, I should say, for the second time in a month. And I'm going to watch it again probably before this summer is over. I fucking love that movie. I haven't seen Civil War. I didn't even know what it was. When I heard people talking about Civil War, I automatically assumed they're talking about Captain America Civil War. So I didn't even know that this was an actual movie until like last week when I was listening to a podcast talk about it. Or actually it was just on Saturday. I was listening to Friday the 13th podcast, horror podcast. Go check them out. And they were talking about the movie, and I was listening to them talk about it, and I was like, this is the movie everybody's losing their shit over? I don't know. But A24 has brought out some surprise hits recently. And I just... let's just go ahead and pull up. I don't know, IMDb or Wikipedia and see what they're known for. Just kind of go down the list. A24, there it is. All right, films. Here we go. We'll just bring up their website, their corporate website. Let's see what they're showing. All right, let's get past upcoming. Well, let's just scroll through real quick. Coming soon, Janet Planet. Coming soon, Maxine. Coming soon, A Different Man. Y2K, Sing Sing. On Becoming a Guinea Fowl, and Parthenope. I don't know what that is. All films. Here we go. Civil War. I Saw the TV Glow. Love Lies Bleeding. The Iron Claw. I heard that was good. Problemista. The Zone Avenger. A lot of shit I've never heard of. Priscilla. I've heard good things about. All Dirt Roads. Taste of Salt. Da-da-da-da. All right, so this is not helpful. Let's backpedal and see what Wikipedia tells us. Here we go. List of A24 films. I'm just going to read off the ones I've heard of. Spring Breakers, Enemy, Under the Skin, Life After Beth, Tusk, Ex Machina, Amy, Dark Places, Room, The Witch, Green Room, The Lobster, Equals, American Honey. I'm going to tell you right now, if you haven't seen American Honey, go fucking watch it, especially if you liked Midsommar. I did not, but you know what? I at least respect what it did for the horror genre. I'll give you that. Let's see. The Monster. I'm skipping over the ones I've never heard of. I'm only reading ones I've actually heard of or heard good things about. A Ghost Story. Lady Bird. The Last Movie Star. How to Talk to Girls at Parties. Hereditary. Don't watch Hereditary. True story. You can go back and watch my live stream on this channel, I believe, or maybe it was Horror Trans. I had a literal panic attack while I was watching that movie. I will never watch it again. Was it a good movie? Yeah, but the scariest fucking thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. Moving on. Hot Summer Nights. Slice. Outlaws. The Hole in the Ground. The Souvenir. Midsommar. The Farewell. Skin. The Lighthouse. And those are all the ones from the... Oh, Jesus. Keep going. All right. I haven't heard of any of these. The Humans. X. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I actually really do want to see that movie. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Pearl, Instinct. What else have they done? A lot of shit. Wow. They're just pumping them out. I don't know if we can call them an indie studio anymore. I think we're at the point now where they are a major studio. Let's look up their financials. I'm just curious. I'm at the point now where if I see A24 attached to a film, I'll give it a chance by default. I have to be talked out of seeing an A24 film, not talked into seeing an A24 film. A24, what am I looking for? Net worth. $2.5 billion. Yeah, that's not an indie studio. That's one of the big boys. Not as big as, let's say, New Line Cinema. New Line Cinema, who is one of the major studios. Net worth. No information because they're a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, of course. All right, fine. Fuck it. Warner Brothers net worth. Just for a comparison. 21 billion. So not quite up there, but, way past indie studio levels of, not just profitability, but output and critical acclaim. Yeah, I knew Warner Brothers has owned New Line since the 90s. I just thought maybe they had financials separate, but I guess not. What's one that's comparable to A24? Blumhouse. Let's see how they compare to Blumhouse. Blumhouse net worth. Let's see what Blumhouse is worth. Not Jason Blum. Blumhouse Productions net worth. Just 200 million. Oh yeah, that's nothing. That's nothing compared to 2.5 billion. So there you go. Oh no, that's Jason Blum himself. Blumhouse Productions, this is according to Wikipedia, take it with a grain of salt. Net worth $5 billion. Revenue $5 billion. That's not net worth. So Wikipedia is, as always, misleading. Like I said, you need a grain of salt. Well, you need a cup of salt in this case, but it is what it is. All right, so Blumhouse is a legit force to be reckoned with. Or not Blumhouse, A24, excuse me. Yeah, Blumhouse is doing good by all accounts too. But it appears as though A24 is just killing it right now. Did Universal buy Blumhouse? I don't know. Who owns Blumhouse? Well, according to Google, it is owned by something called Atomic Monster. But it also says New Line Cinema, Warner Brothers, and Universal Pictures Comcast Corp. So I'm not trusting Google at this point in time. So I can't confirm or deny this. I don't know. I'm not getting reliable information. Let's try. Oh, I did. Who owns Blumhouse? All right. Well, let's just see what Wikipedia says. Fuck it. We'll follow them. Okay, it says since 2014, their films are owned and distributed by Universal Pictures as part of a 10-year first look deal. So Universal does not own Blumhouse, but they own Blumhouse's content from 2014 to today. Yeah. So that deal should expire probably at the end of this year if they don't renew it, which why wouldn't they renew? Or just sell flat out? I don't know. This Hollywood stuff is so complicated. I mean, I could talk about Blumhouse too because they got some good shit. Is it Blumhouse or Blumhouse? Am I saying it wrong? I've heard it both ways, so I'm not sure what's the correct way. Anyways, A24, they got some great shit. Pretty much like I said, if their name is attached, I'm going to watch it probably at some point in time. All right, let's get into our comic book topic. This is a fun one. Why I love the X-Men. This one should be easy. I'm queer. No, not just that. Yeah, I absolutely identify with their civil rights struggle because I struggle for, civil rights as a LGBTQ trans woman. We all do in the queer community. But also I love their superpowers and their characters. And initially they were teenagers, which made them way more interesting than fucking billionaires. I would rather watch a movie with teenage superheroes than fucking Elon Musk wannabes. I hate Tony Stark. I'm not going to beat that dead horse. I'm just going to throw that out there. So let's get a little bit about my history, just brief, my history with the X-Men. When I was in third grade, my third grade teacher recognized I didn't have friends. And so for whatever reason, she connected that as I must be different. And so she started letting me borrow her X-Men comics to take home and read it as long as I brought them back to her, which I always did. Because she thought I would relate to the characters, which I did. So that's how I got introduced to X-Men. This would have been third grade. I'm going to say probably 1990, maybe 91, maybe 89. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at a calendar to tell you what year was which. I suck. God. Oh, dear. Anyways, and then in 91 or 92, the X-Men animated series hit Fox Kids television programming block. And when that happened, it changed my world. Now, I had already played the X-Men video game, Uncanny X-Men on the NES, the X-Men arcade game in the arcade, the massive 6-player one, because our local arcade in the mall had that one. And I was already collecting X-Men action figures from the Toy Biz line. I had Storm, Cyclops, Magneto, Archangel, and I think I had Sabretooth. Those were the X-Men I had. And then non-X-Men toys from the toy line, I had Warpath and Strong Arm and Weapon X. I love the X-Men. I grew up with the cartoons, the comics, the movies. I was there opening night in 2000 to see X-Men opening night. I went back on the following Monday to the drive-in, and I went back that following weekend to see it again. And I went back one more time later that summer, and then I bought it on VHS day one, and I bought it on DVD day one and Blu-ray day one. I'm obsessed with the X-Men. I love the fucking X-Men. However, I have some nitpicks. Nitpick number one. starting in the 90s, the X-Men basically became not just Marvel's flagship property, the X-Men characters became their entire fucking business. You had X-Men and Uncanny X-Men and New Mutants and Generation X and Cable and Wolverine and Deadpool and Excalibur and what else? X-Force and X-Factor and Jesus Christ, we were oversaturated with X properties in the 90s. And this continued with cartoons and anime and spin-offs and video games. I mean, there's so many X-Men video games out there. I think there might be more X-Men video games out there than Batman video games out there, although I'm not 100% on that. So that's pretty much how I got into X-Men, but my beef with it is it hit strong and hard and fast, disappeared for a while, came back slowly in the 80s, and then hit hard and fast again in the 90s, and then kind of exploded, but then it got too big. We got too much X-Men all at once. And I don't like Wolverine or Cable or Deadpool or Excalibur or X-Force or X-Factor, all that other shit. I just wanted X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, and I wanted New Mutants, but they turned it into Generation X, and then I stopped reading because I like New Mutants. I didn't need the rebrand. But it is what it is. Now let's talk briefly the cartoon and the films. The cartoon, obviously the one I'm referring to, is X-Men the Animated Series from the early 90s on Fox Kids. Great show, but I'm going to be honest with you. I stopped watching midway through season 2 or 3. Basically, when they did the episode where they go into the astral plane and meet the Shadow King or whatever that storyline was, I stopped watching from then on. I was lost. I was over it. I was like, nope, not interested anymore. Got too complicated for me. X-Men films. I mean, I could cheat and just say I love them all, but that would be cheap. I like the original trilogy, and I like 2 of the New Class trilogy. I like New Class or First Class or whatever it's called, and I like Dark Phoenix. The other 2 I could live without. I don't need Days of Future Past. I don't need Apocalypse, but I'll watch Dark Phoenix again. I saw it opening. Actually, I saw it at a press screener when I was working at a newspaper. So I actually got to write a review for it before it came out, ahead of opening night. So that was pretty fun. Yeah, that may have had a hand in my enjoyment of the film, obviously, but at the same time, it was a good movie. I love Jean Grey. She's my favorite X-Men character. So yeah, I'm gonna like anything where she's the focus. Of the original trilogy, X-Men 2 is my favorite. And then my second favorite, I get a lot of shit for this, it's The Last Stand. And then I don't rewatch that first one. That first one, it's like, yeah, I get it. In 2000, we needed the setup, the build-up, the introduction, etc. for film audiences. But it's like, looking back on it by today's standards, oh my God, it's a slog. It's a dull-ass slog. I loved it at the time, but I cannot rewatch X-Men from 2000. I can't do it. All right, let's move on to the retail topic. This one is dollar store treasure hunting. So, all right. Obviously, I grew up poor, and I still am poor. What I mean by dollar store treasure hunting is a lot of times your dollar store has cheap knockoff crap. This is true for its food products, its toilet paper, its shampoo, and definitely for its toys. But occasionally, your dollar store, be it Dollar General or Family Dollar or your local dollar, if there is a local dollar chain near you, or whatever, occasionally they'll get some weird toy that's imported from China or Japan or Brazil or somewhere, Italy, wherever, that is actually better than the real toy, especially in the action figure and transforming robot department. Sometimes you'll get some weird yeah, it's an action figure that doesn't look like anybody you've seen in a comic book or in a movie, but like the design is actually unique and original and interesting. Or with their transforming robot toys, you get some really cool stuff. Like you can get stuff that you'll never get in the proper Transformers line, like a forklift or a phone booth or whatever, stuff that Hasbro will never do. Because they're basically just cars and planes and dinosaurs at this point. They don't really take chances like they used to. Definitely not like the GoBots did. I mean, that you'll never see Hasbro do Rock Lords or, you know, a bulldozer. You know what I mean? So yeah. Well, they did a bulldozer in the Constructicon set, but like that was a part of a set, and that was a whole construction vehicle theme. But basically, their whole thing is if it's a bad guy, it's got to be military weapons and vehicles. And if it's a good guy, it's got to be a race car or a dinosaur. That's where we are today. Which is like, yeah, okay, fine. I like the cars. I like the Dinobots. Don't get me wrong. But like, give me something new. Give me a Pretender. Give me a Catilla. Give me a fucking Mindwipe or Fangry. You know, something different. I don't know. Anyways, I love dollar store treasure hunting because you walk around the dollar store. Usually you're there because you're on a very, very, very tight ass budget and you need toilet paper and toothpaste and fucking shampoo and, you know, whatever meat they're trying to pass off as beef, but it ain't beef. But yeah, sure, whatever. They'll call it beef and I'll believe you. But you're also like keeping an eye out for neat off the wall toys that you're not going to find at Walmart or Target or anywhere else, which is what I'm looking for. Especially, they have some really cool, occasionally they have some, I won't say exclusive, but sometimes they get the Hot Wheels that the other stores won't sell, you know? And I think that's pretty cool. I like shopping. I love toy hunting, especially at the dollar store, because you literally never know what you're going to find. Now you can copy and paste everything I just said and apply it to Walgreens. I would have said Rite Aid, but I think Rite Aid went out of business. And I'll just lump in grocery stores like Albertsons and Kroger and Fred Meyer in there too, because occasionally their toy sections have some neat treasures as well that you're not going to find at the mainstream toy stores. All right, so this is my video game topic for the week. And I know I'm going to piss people off. Why I'm over the 2D pixel art retro game craze. And I have to put a caveat out there. Obviously, I love Minecraft, which is a pseudo, what would you say, homage to the pixel art, I guess, in a roundabout way. But I'm talking like, you get a brand new game from a legacy studio, like a big studio, like Sega or Konami or Capcom, and they make a big fuss about it. Here's the new Altered Beast, and you're excited. It's going to be great graphics and big open world game, and I'm going to get to explore, and everything's going to be amazing, and it's just another fucking 2D side scroller. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, I'm over it. You know, is there room in my world for these retro 2D Metroidvanias, etc.? Yeah, a little bit. Some beat 'em ups or whatever. Sure. But like, I also want like these legacy properties to be brought back in like legit proper ways. You know, Zelda made the transition to 3D. Metroid, Donkey Kong, Mario, Kirby, Pokemon, they all made the transition to 3D. Sonic made the transition to 3D. It had a rocky transition, but it did it somehow. Why can't Altered Beast make the transition to 3D? Why can't Streets of Rage or Double Dragon or Ghosts and Goblins, you know? Or, well, I guess Mega Man tried. Mega Man, I don't know. I can't comment. I haven't played the 3D Mega Man games on the PS1 or the N64. I've heard they're rubbish, but I can't just assume they are because you never know. But here's the thing. It isn't just that. Anytime a new game gets announced, it's always, a retro throwback Metroidvania with elements of XYZ. And it's like, yeah, you're the 3,700th video game to use that exact tagline to sell your game to me. You know, Shovel Knight was fine, but Terraria was fine. But by the time we got to, I don't know, Child of Light or whatever came after, I was like, we're doing this again and again and again and again. I'm over it. I'm over it. This is the reason why I lost interest in Nintendo, because I was all in on the Wii U and I was like happy with Super Mario 3D World. I was like, yes, this is great. And I was happy with Hyrule Warriors. I was like, yes, this is great. And then their next big game, NES Remix. And I was like, okay, this is fun. Give me a real game. And then their next big game was NES Remix 2. And I was like, okay, fine. Give me a real 3D game. And their next big game, Mario Maker, which again was fun for a weekend. And then I'm like, all right, are we going to get a proper game? And then it was that Mario Donkey Kong March of the Minis or whatever the fuck it was called. Again, it was a fun game for about 2 hours, and then I'm looking for something new. Excuse me. So in 2007, 2008, 2009, I was all in on the 2D retro pixel art throwback 16-bit, 8-bit era craze. Yeah, give me more games. But by 2013, 14, 15, I was over it. That was 10 years ago. I've been over it for 10 years. Like past tense. All right, let's talk about food. I promised I was going to talk about the other mega popular Italian food that is a major hit in the US of A. No, it isn't pizza. That's the number one, obviously. Duh, we all love pizza. No, I'm talking about spaghetti. Why am I talking about spaghetti? First of all, out of all the foods that I've ever eaten in the entire history of my existence, spaghetti's my favorite food. I love spaghetti. Also, spaghetti is one of the very few meals that I can actually prepare relatively well, turn out pretty good without destroying the kitchen in the process. For various reasons I don't want to get into here. So what the fuck is spaghetti? Well, it's a noodle. It's literally a type of noodle. That's all it is. That's what spaghetti is. It's called spaghetti noodle. You can dress it up with whatever you want. Marinara sauce, Alfredo sauce, mushroom sauce if you want. Whatever. Spaghetti's very flexible. Like pizza. I know. Now, ideally, I want my spaghetti with marinara sauce, ground beef, but the ground beef has to be cooked in a skillet with onions. I want it sauteed with onions and greasy as fuck and seasoned. You season the meat first, then you add the marinara sauce or the spaghetti sauce or whatever you're using, your red sauce, to that mix while your noodles are boiling in a separate pot, obviously. And then in that pot, once you've added the sauce and got it warming up, you add your diced tomatoes, you add your, black olives and your green peppers and your mushrooms. And then once the noodles are ready, you drain, you put it all together, you eat the shit out of it, and you're good to go. If I'm going to do spaghetti with Alfredo sauce, I need mushrooms. I basically have to have mushrooms in my spaghetti with Alfredo. If I'm eating anything with Alfredo sauce, I need mushrooms. I have to have mushrooms in my Alfredo, whatever it is. Now, marinara, on a pizza, take it or leave it. If you give me mushrooms, I'll eat it. If not, I'm good. I'm not going to miss the mushrooms, but if I have them, I'm great. I'm good to go. Spaghetti, I want the mushrooms, but if I have to choose between mushrooms and black olives are mandatory. Mushrooms are optional. I want my spaghetti made with ground beef. I know some people like to do it with Italian sausage. I do not. But I'm willing to try other meats, like, say, ground turkey, or maybe maybe a ground, like not an Italian sausage, but like maybe like a Jimmy Dean sausage. I would try a spaghetti made with like a pound of Jimmy Dean sausage instead of a pound of beef. I would consider doing that. I don't like Italian sausage to begin with. It just has a flavor I'm not a fan of. So that's my food topic. I have one final music topic before we get into the random thoughts where I just bullshit for an hour or however long until I get bored. So, all right, my music topic is, drum roll if you're still here, country music. What the fuck is country music, and why the fuck am I talking about it? All right. Some people use the term country western music, and that's a different thing to me. But what is country music? Well, at its core, country music, and this is going to sound like an oxymoron, it really is. Country music is basically your folk rock pop. I know it's an oxymoron. It's basically folk rock being, folksy music done with a pop aesthetic. That's basically what country music is. In other words, it's mainstream folk music, essentially, but with like a twinge of rock and roll and a hint, maybe a dash of pop music. That's what country music is. Some people complain it's too much like rock and roll today. It's too much like pop music. It's always been that way. Elvis Presley is one of the most famous country music artists of all time. He's also one of the most famous rock and roll artists of all time. He literally did both because they're the same fucking thing. They're literally the same fucking thing. The only difference is the theme and a little bit of the, maybe a different beat, and maybe, you got more twang in one than the other. But that's it, And then you got shit like, and I don't mean shit in a negative way, I'm just saying, rockabilly, But let's talk about country music. What specific do I mean when I say country music? Well, I'm old. I'm 41. I'm middle-aged. I'm talking about the late 80s, early 90s era. The Garth Brooks, the Reba McEntire, the Judds. Yes, I know, Achy Breaky Heart, give me a break. Yes, we all jammed to that tune back in 19 whatever year that was. Just like we all jammed to Ice Ice Baby, and you're a liar if you say you didn't, if you were alive in 1990, whatever year that was. It's just the fucking truth. That being said, look, I grew up in Kansas. I grew up in a small town. I lived in Texas. I've lived in Nevada. I've lived in California and Arizona. I grew up in the West. I grew up in Western culture and Midwestern culture. I grew up in this country lifestyle. So, yes, I have a somewhat affinity for, the superficial aspect or the down-to-earth aspect of country music. Singing about your farm or your small town, or going to the corn maze or the hay rides or whatever, that shit, yeah, whatever, fine. I'm not going to mock it. I was there. I rode the hay rides. I went to the corn maze. I did it because that's all there was to fucking do in the middle of goddamn nowhere. There was nothing else to do. However, I have a very limited tolerance for country music. Partially because where I grew up in that culture also attracts bigots, and so I've ran into a lot of hateful comments growing up over the years. So I associate country music not with bigots, but with my memories of bigots being bigots towards me. So that is triggering, to say the least. And also, country music is kind of depressing. And I struggle with bipolar disorder. I don't need anything to make me depressed. I'm depressed by default as soon as I get out of bed in the morning. I need music that's going to lift me up to melancholy. So, all right. I know I'm trans. I know I am trans, and I'm, what you would classify politically as a liberal, kind of, I guess, more of a socialist or democratic socialist, but whatever. And I know some of those country songs from back in the day are problematic, like Hank Williams Jr. Everything he did, and then he had his anthem, If the South Would Have Won. Yeah, I know, problematic. There's a lot of problematic bullshit in country music. There's problematic bullshit in rock and roll, too, but we don't go into that. Nobody ever, harps on that shit. They just harp on country, but it is what it is. But because a lot of your country artists and your country music fans also tend to be in among that ilk. Not saying everybody. I'm not generalizing or stereotyping. I'm just saying a lot of them, or at least the vocal ones, I should say, tend to be in that ilk. That does tend to give it a bad rep. Now, we're not even talking about Taylor Swift because she hasn't been country music since y'all were babies. What is the turn? I've never heard of that. I've never heard of the turn. So the country I listen to, which is very, very, very rare and very, very, very limited. Some, even though they're problematic, as I just said, Hank Williams Jr., because that's what I grew up with. Some Reba McEntire, Alan Jackson, what's his name? Garth Brooks, and maybe that one, and literally the one Martina McBride song. And that's it. If I sat down and made a playlist of all the country songs I can tolerate, there might be maybe 30 songs on that playlist. Maybe. And they're all going to be from like 1994 backwards. Nothing newer than that. And none of that Canadian, what's her name, pretending to be pop and rock. What was her name? The Canadian country singer that everybody was gaga over in the 90s. I forgot her name. She sang that song, Man, I Feel Like a Woman. The fuck is her name? Can't remember. I don't fucking care. I don't like her. Whoever she is, obviously, I didn't like her enough to remember her. Her name didn't stick in my head. Anyways, I have repeatedly told my girlfriend and my close friends this. If you ever catch me listening to country music, immediately stop what you're doing and call me and ask me how I'm doing, because it means I'm on the edge of slitting my wrist. I do not listen to country music unless I'm in a really bad place. I don't just listen to it willy-nilly. And I don't listen to Willie Nelson? Whatever. I don't listen to him. Shania Twain, that's it. Yeah. Ugh. I'm not going to remember that in 5 minutes. No disrespect to her as a person or an artist. Her music made my skin crawl. Ugh. Yeah, this is going to come from the American in me who grew up in the actual real Wild West. I went to high school in Nevada in a casino town with real cowboys. Canada should not be churning out country music artists. I'm sorry. What claim do they have to the Wild West? Anyways, no disrespect to my Canadian friends. I have a lot of Canadian friends. My girlfriend's Canadian. I just say shit about Canada just because I'm an American and it's a thing we do. I'm kidding, by the way. That should be hopefully obvious. I did like when the Real McCoy, that pseudo techno-ish electronic band, did a cover of her song. I did like their version of the song, but I couldn't tell you what song it was. It was on their CD One More Time. Not as good as Another Night. Another Night is their gold standard. They had like maybe 2 or 3 okay songs on One More Time. Not the titular song, by the way. But Another Night was like banger after banger after banger. Yes, I'm into electronic music. There you go. You knew this. All right. we reached the portion of the episode where I just ramble for 30 to 45 minutes. The random thoughts is what I call it. So this is the part where anything goes. So if you have something you want to ask me in the live chat, now is the time to do it. More or less, anything goes. Private stuff is off limits, obviously. And when I say private, you know what I mean. Don't be a douche. But everything else, I'll try to answer it. Or if you ask me a question, how do I feel about X, Y, or Z? I'll give my honest, raw, without thinking about it. I'll just give you a straight up raw response. Have you played Mercenaries on PS2? All right. This is going to give you, I promised a raw response. No, I did not. Because back in the day when the PS2 was a thing, I hated Sony and I hated PlayStation. I bought a GameCube. Even though I didn't like the Dreamcast at all, I hated the fact that it basically became Sega's last home console because of the popularity of PlayStation. And yes, also Sega fucking shit up. And I was desperate to not let that happen to Nintendo. So I went all in on Nintendo. I took all my love and passion for Sega and transfixed it on Nintendo for about 10 years. Going back, I got my first PS2 in 2013. Going back and rediscovering the PS2 with a fresh pair of eyes, and I just did my top 25 PS2 games like a week or two ago. I mostly stuck to games that were available on the GameCube or games that, in my opinion, should have been on the GameCube. Things like Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts or Maximo, stuff like that. So I mostly played games that could have been on a Nintendo console had we been in an alternate universe where they put CD-ROM in the N64 and the GameCube played DVDs and Nintendo knew what they were doing with their hardware. In that alternate universe, those games would have been on the GameCube, maybe the PlayStation, but again, there probably wouldn't have been a PlayStation in that alternate universe because Final Fantasy VII would have been on the N64 where it would have been a much better game. I don't know what Mercenaries is. I don't know what type of game it is. I've never heard of this game. I've never heard of Mercenaries before, so I don't even know what type of game it is, so I can't even say if I would play it. Can you play piano? Kinda, sorta. I took lessons in high school. I took a class called Music Appreciation, where the first semester they taught us the basics of how to play the piano, and then the second semester they taught us the basics on how to play the guitar. I have a disability. It's not a deformed hand, but my fingers do not, they don't operate like they're supposed to. I don't have fine motor skills at all. I do not, I struggle with video games, and anything that requires me to make my fingers operate in unison is a chore for me. So because of that, I couldn't play the piano because I couldn't get my fingers to, press the keys correctly. And I couldn't play the guitar because I couldn't get my fingers to bend like they were supposed to. But I could play a hella dope-ass drum solo. I was really good at the drums because you hold the stick in your hand. You don't need your fingers. And I was also really good at turntabling, which, you need your fingers, but it's like the tips of your fingers. You're just scratching the record and spinning it around. So it's like, it doesn't really require that much precision. Mercenaries is a GTA clone set in a war zone made by the people who made Star Wars Battlefront games. Okay, who made Battlefront? Was that EA? I don't know who that was. So it's a GTA so basically an open world type game set in a war zone. Pandemic Studios. Okay. Not familiar with them. This sounds like a game I would try, to be honest with you. It sounds like a game I would play for like all of 30 minutes and never touch, but I would consider trying it. But that's just how I am with Grand Theft Auto. When I play Grand Theft Auto, I turn the game on. I start the save. I steal a car. I run over the old ladies. I fly the car off the bridge. I turn the game off and I go play Mario or Minecraft. I don't have the attention span to get into Minecraft proper, or not Minecraft, excuse me, Grand Theft Auto proper, because I don't understand the game. I don't know what you're supposed to do. And I can't complete the missions because it's always something impossible for me. It's always like race through traffic at breakneck speed in under 2 minutes, but you got to get 5 minutes down the road. What? Oh, and twists and turns along the way. I can't do that. I'm not good at racing games. They also made Destroy All Humans. I did play Destroy All Humans. I think I had it on Xbox. The original Xbox. I may have had it on PS2 at one point. I can't say for sure. I have had, at some point in time in my life, when I was a hardcore gamer, hardcore collector, I have owned every one of the mainstream consoles. So think the console war winner, or their immediate competition. Every one of them at some point in my life. And I have owned between 60 to 200 or 300 games per console at some point in my life. So I played fucking countless. I can't tell you how many video games I played over the years. So I can't remember, and this was like 20, 25 years ago. I can't remember. Was it that long? Yeah, 2004 would have been 20 years ago. Yeah. So I can't remember if I know I played Destroy All Humans on the Xbox, but I can't remember if I had it on PS2 or not. But I did play the game. I loved it. It was fun. That was a game that I wished had been on the GameCube because it played like and felt like a Nintendo game, but it is what it is. And I don't mean game made by Nintendo. I just mean game that belongs on a Nintendo console. Like, go back and look at the software library of the NES or the SNES to get an idea of what I mean by that. Basically, you know, your Mega Mans, your Castlevanias, your Ghosts and Goblins, your Street Fighters, your Double Dragons, your Battletoads, etc., etc. You know, the games that have not been on Nintendo consoles in 30 years, but defined Nintendo consoles 30 years ago. I'm asking the universe, is Street Fighter any of them? And I mean the current Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter 6, or whatever is the proper mainstream current Street Fighter game on the Nintendo Switch. Have you been overseas? No, I've never left America. I won't go so far as to say I never will, but I will never get on an airplane again, ever. So the only way I could ever go to like Germany or Japan is to take a boat to Europe or to Japan, respectively, and then take, I don't know, a train to get to Germany or wherever I end up going. I only say Germany because my ancestors are from Germany, and that's a place I'd like to go. And I studied Japanese in college. I used to be able to speak it at a kindergarten level and read it at a pre-K level, but I can still make out the letters, the kanji, and not the kanji, the kana, the katakana, and the hiragana. I can still make them out, the sounds they're supposed to make if I see the symbol, but I can't tell you what the words are. I don't remember. I didn't really study that hard when I was in Japanese class in college, but I would love to go to Japan. I'd love to go to Kyoto, Japan, and see that Nintendo museum. For all the shit I talk about Nintendo as a company, I still do love them. At least I love their characters, their IP, their games, by and large. Even though I don't love everything they do. I'm looking at you, Animal Crossing, eat shit. But Zelda, great. Donkey Kong, yay. Star Fox, give me more. Obviously, I'll play Mario all day long. I just did a video like 2 days ago on why I have no interest in Pokermans. Not even enough to respect it enough to use its proper trademark title. And that's just how I feel about it. I was like 18 when the first Game Boy games came out in that franchise. I was like a grown-ass adult just about. That game series wasn't marketed for me. It was marketed for my sister, who's 6 years younger than I am. You know, And I did give it an honest go. I tried. I like the cards. Don't get me wrong. I love the cards, but I'm obsessed. I grew up in the 90s. I'm obsessed with trading cards. So I have like conservatively 10,000 trading cards in my collection from all over the place. Mostly, yes, Pokemon and Magic the Gathering. The biggest chunk of it is Magic the Gathering. Did you collect Yu-Gi-Oh? No, but I'm not opposed to it. But I did collect Dragon Ball Z trading cards, even though I have no interest in the Dragon Ball Z anime. I just thought the trading cards looked cool. Same thing with Pokemon. I have no interest in anything Pokemon, but the cards look cool. So Yu-Gi-Oh is one that, you know, if I ever get to a point where my Magic or Pokemon or Marvel collections are at a satisfied place where I can say, yeah, I have enough, not likely. Maybe I'll jump into Yu-Gi-Oh as a side quest, but I've got enough side quests going on with Star Wars and Star Trek and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Stargate and everything else. I don't know if I have room in my closet for Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Like I said, I've got conservatively 10,000 trading cards. And I'm not going to dig them out and take pictures of them because they're deep in the closet, buried under totes. I can't even get to them, which is why I stopped buying them because I don't even fucking look at them anymore. True story. Here's a tidbit. In 1995 or 1996, I got my first proper job with a W-2 with a pay stub. I was working for we'll just say an agriculture company that took teenagers out into the cornfield to detassel the corn. And I got my first paycheck, and I took the entire paycheck down to what was then the trading card shop, because then it was just a trading card shop. Got to go to work. Okay, have a good day. Anyways, I spent my entire paycheck at the trading card shop. I just bought full boxes of trading cards filled with hundreds of packs of trading cards. I was obsessed with trading cards back in the day. Okay, so I don't know if anyone else is still sticking around, but I'm at the point where I'm bored and I'm ready to go do something else for the rest of my day. So stay cool. Thanks for watching.